Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. I have here one of two blanks. The other one became this little bowl, which I made in the previous video. And I'm aiming to do something slightly different with this one, do different things with the splits and come up with a different shape. So the main feature of this blank are the little surface splits here, and on the other side there's a borer hole of some sort there and the remnants of one there, but they're long since gone, I think. There's a split here which looks as though it can run the whole length of, well, it more or less does run the whole length, but when I look at the end grain it only goes in about 3/8 of an inch, which is about 9 millimeters. So that's not going to be a big problem. I never work anything where a split goes all the way through. It's just too dangerous. Now this one I know has some figure, because this bowl came out from next door to it. These two came out of a short plank, and the idea is to I've still got the figure here, but I want to treat the splits differently, and rather than get rid of them all, which is what I did on the top of here, and I lost, as you can see, 2 or 3 millimeters there, only about 1/8 of an inch, not very much really, but I still have a few splits in the middle which I'd generally rather not have. On the back they're far deeper and I can actually get a nail in there. Well, I'm aiming to burn these out this time, and a bowl like that I probably don't want a foot on it. I'm thinking in terms of having 3 little feet, take away one finger, 3 little feet, or maybe just rounded. We'll see how we go. I've drilled a hole in the center for the screw chuck. Don't need all that screw. This is running at 1500. Half-inch spindle gouge. Having worked this before, I know roughly what I'm in for. I know it works quite nicely. Come in from the other face. I'm not going to true up the top because I'm going to burn that and do something with it. For the moment I'm going to leave 3 feet on this, which I'll want probably somewhere around there. So I need a foot to grip it by, maybe 1/8 of an inch at the most, about 3 millimeters. So that's trued it all up. Just make sure there's decent concave there. If I'm going to make 3 feet, I want them sitting up probably about 1/8 of an inch. So bottom can get this stuff does scrape very nicely. I don't know exactly what the timber is, but it's likely to be a eucalypt and be woolly butt or black butt, something like that. Now it's going to be a big rounded, fairly heavily charred piece. What I'm thinking of doing is burning out the split, so I basically get burnt fissures. That's not as clean as it might be. I shear scrape that. The tool fills it up on edge. Shaving coming off from the lower part of the tool. Tool flat on the rest, just to come in from the bottom. Right, so if this is going to get burnt out, I do that now. And if I'm going to do that now, I want to get rid of all the combustible stuff down here. I'm just going to work on the splits. So splits up near the rim. Now the heat is going to open up the splits a little bit, I hope. I'll take this out with a Nylex brush. Lock the spindle. I don't think there's anything likely to spark in there, so I can use the dust extraction. In fact, I really quite like that surface. So maybe I'll just do the whole bowl like that. So up here where there's the figure, that should come out as a bit of ripply texture. Not so worried about the bottom because I shall get at that later. Again. I work on the splits. They're opening up a bit. Getting a kind of crazing coming out on the surface. So that will tend to break away and give me a more interesting surface on the timber when it's brushed off. I must be careful not to lose this shoulder because I'm going to need that for gripping the piece. Right, so now I've got the whole surface crackled up. Right, make sure no sparks, nothing glowing in there. Now I thought I had a really aggressive brush wire or bigger brass brush. This is all I've got. All I've got left. Yes, I like that. Good. Right, that gets turned round. That will go into step drawers. It will. Yes. So I'll take this one out with a 3/8 bowl gouge, half an inch diameter gouge, 3/8 flute. have my hand normally right over the tool so I don't get all the shavings in my face. So, interrupted by a phone call, but I can think in terms of having this rim burnt and keeping the inside as a kind of red. Do I like it? Possibly. To see how deep I am in relation, well, how deep I am. Halfway down, I've got another 1/4 of an inch to go down. I'll do that. Rest comes up a bit, just a shade low. Got to have it tilted down at centre. I can't get round the bend with that, so I'm just going to tilt it up. And then I can. Now the whole point of this really was to have it all black, I think, or we're now thinking about all black with all the splits detailed, so I don't think there's any point in keeping the wide rim and this. I'd rather have the whole thing black and rounded up over here, so I'll just take it out a bit more. Very dusty. Now I can start consider the rim again. I can burn that. That feels quite nice. There's a little bit to come out where my thumb is. Still, I tend not to go for flat rims. Now I think I'll do a variation of the other one. I'm going to round this over that way. Come in slightly this way. I'm going to have a kind of inner lip again, as on the other plate, so slightly undercut that in order to get a nice well-defined inner lip. Right, so I've got that curve feeling all right, quite thin in where my thumb is. Just carry that on to the bottom. little bit rough up here, but it's going to get burnt, doesn't matter. Right, burn that. Right, really trying to open up these little fissures here. Those cracks are the wood cracking. Now, I'm still after the crackling surface here, but I also do have flames, so I do have a spray bottle with water. So just let that cool off for a little bit. So in with the wire brush. That's what happens when you pull a bit hard and pull it off, but it doesn't actually matter because this is going to get dealt with. And it is going to get dealt with. It is extremely thin in there. In fact, really it's terminally thin. But we'll carry on just to show what we're doing. So set out the tripod feet. I would normally have one along the grain. You can tell where the grain is here by the splits. So I'll put one foot is going to be there, and then these circles on the plastic, which I hope you can see, kind of align those. Where are we? I need to get one dot up there. Number 2. And number 3 is just in there. So it's just a question of taking away the bits in between. I'm going to do that with, this is 120 grit. So I hope we'll do the job. There is a separate video on doing those little feet. So on this one I definitely went just a little bit too thin. But the idea is to show you what to do and how to do it. And there's going to be an actual hole in there. Oh, quite a big hole. Another big hole. Now that can also be brushed with a brush in the chuck. And we'll just do that. This is not the ideal brush for it. A better would probably be a wire version of this nylon one, but this will do a reasonable job. This needs to get out of the way. can get all of that. The whole idea of this video was to produce a bowl different from this, but from a very, very similar blank. And I certainly succeeded in that. As I've said, it was a pity going through the centre, and I'm surprised I didn't hear that coming, but if the sound was there, I missed it. I really like the texture on the bottom. This is just straight off the nylon brush. It's had no finish whatsoever at this stage. Still got the hint of the three little feet, so it does actually sit firmly on the table. I'm not the slightest inclined to try and fill that, take it out, put an insert in or anything like that. This is going to be far more use as an experimental piece. So what I'll do now is just play around with this, and I'll be back in a little bit and see what I came up with. So first thing I did was go to my 8-inch grinder with a wire wheel on it, and really got stuck into the surface. You get these quite nice striations coming, and depending on how you hold the bowl against the wheel depends on the direction of the grooves. Then I had to go with some gold. This is gold acrylic, just put on with a brush, and then rubbed back with a cloth. And there's some kind of bluish stuff and some turquoise, which kind of glows quite nicely. On the inside, again, the gold. And what the colour does is really bring out the grain, which has already been highlighted with the brushing. So I think these have some possibilities. You might well see some of this appearing again, but probably on boxes. And I must say that could be quite a nice simple addition to a rim. As I often say, we shall see.